Gentlemen, what if I told you that the reason you feel tired, foggy, inflamed, and old before your time has almost nothing to do with your heart, your hormones, or even your age? What if the real culprit is something living inside you right now? Trillions of microscopic organisms that are either keeping you young or quietly accelerating your decline. And what if the difference between a man who feels 45 at age 70 and a man who feels 80 at age 60 comes down to one organ most doctors barely talk about? I'm Dr. Steven, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to optimize your gut microbiome for maximum longevity, because the research coming out of the world's leading universities is now confirming what I've been telling patients for years. Your gut is not just a digestive organ. It is your second brain, your immune headquarters, and your body's most powerful longevity switch. And after 50, if you're not actively protecting and optimizing it, it is actively working against you. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share changes everything. And I mean that in the most concrete, biochemical, cellular sense of the word. Let's start with something that might surprise you. You are not mostly human. In fact, by cell count, your body contains more bacterial cells than human cells, about 38 trillion of them, concentrated primarily in your gut. These bacteria, collectively called your microbiome, produce hundreds of compounds your body cannot make on its own. They regulate your immune system. They produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. They control inflammation. They even influence how your genes express themselves. Now here's where it gets critical for men over 50. Research from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden and Stanford University has shown that as we age, the diversity of our gut microbiome declines sharply. The beneficial bacterial strains that keep us lean, sharp, energized, and disease-resistant, they start disappearing. And the opportunistic, inflammatory strains, they move in and take over. Scientists have a name for this process. It's called dysbiosis. And dysbiosis doesn't just give you bloating and digestive discomfort. It triggers systemic, low-grade inflammation throughout your entire body. This is the same inflammation that accelerates cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, cognitive decline, and yes, sexual dysfunction. It's the biological slow burn that makes men feel like they've aged a decade in just a few years. But here's the critical piece of information most men never hear. This decline is not inevitable. It is not locked into your DNA. It is a condition. And conditions can be changed. Before I give you the complete protocol, I want to make sure you recognize what gut dysbiosis actually feels like in your daily life, because you've probably been attributing these symptoms to just getting older. You wake up in the morning and you're not refreshed. You've slept 7 or 8 hours, and you still feel like you need another 3. You carry persistent weight around your midsection that doesn't respond to diet or exercise the way it used to. Brain fog. That creeping mental slowness where words feel further away, focus feels harder to hold, and you finish a sentence and forget what you were saying. Your joints ache more than they should. Your digestion is unpredictable. Some days sluggish, other days the opposite. Your mood is flatter. Your motivation is lower. Your resilience to stress has dropped. Here's what most doctors tell these men. You're just aging. Here's what the science actually says. Your gut microbiome is out of balance, and it is driving every single one of these symptoms. Because when your gut bacteria are out of balance, they produce lipopolysaccharides, toxic compounds that leak through your gut lining into your bloodstream. This is what researchers call leaky gut. And these toxins don't just sit there. They bind to immune receptors throughout your body and trigger the release of pro-inflammatory cytokines, the same chemical signals associated with depression, cognitive decline, obesity, and accelerated aging. You're not tired because you're old. You're tired because your internal ecosystem is under siege. Now let's talk about the science of what a healthy microbiome actually does, because understanding this is what will motivate you to protect it. Beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium strains produce something called short-chain fatty acids, specifically butyrate, propionate, and acetate. Butyrate is remarkable. It is the primary fuel source for the cells lining your colon. It maintains the integrity of your gut wall, which means it prevents leaky gut from developing. but it also crosses the blood-brain barrier and protects your neurons directly. Butyrate activates a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is essentially fertilizer for your brain cells. Men with higher butyrate production show slower cognitive aging, better memory retention, and significantly lower rates of Alzheimer's disease. Then there's the testosterone connection, and this one is critical for the men watching this. Your gut bacteria regulate an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase. When this enzyme is working properly, it helps your body recycle and maintain circulating testosterone. When your microbiome is dysbiotic, beta-glucuronidase activity goes haywire, and testosterone is deactivated and excreted before your tissues can use it. This is one of the key reasons men with poor gut health have chronically low testosterone despite normal production. Their microbiome is destroying it before it can do anything, and your gut produces more than 90% of your body's serotonin, not your brain, your gut. Which means when your microbiome is compromised, your serotonin production drops, your mood drops, your motivation drops, your sleep quality drops. It's not a coincidence that depression, insomnia, and gut dysbiosis cluster together in aging men. They are the same problem expressing itself in different systems. So how do you fix this? Here is the protocol I use with patients, and it works in sequence, because rebuilding your microbiome is not a one-step process. Each phase builds on the last. Phase 1 is what I call removing the interference. You cannot rebuild a healthy ecosystem while the things destroying it are still present. The primary destroyers of your gut microbiome are processed seed oils, canola, soybean, sunflower, which research has shown directly reduce microbial diversity. Artificial sweeteners, even the ones labeled as safe, have been shown in peer-reviewed studies to alter gut bacterial populations within 2 weeks of daily use. Alcohol, even moderate consumption, feeds pathogenic bacteria and suppresses lactobacillus species. And unnecessary antibiotic use, including the residual antibiotics present in non-organic meat, continues wiping out beneficial strains long after you've stopped taking them. For the first 2 weeks of this protocol, you are cleaning house. Eliminate seed oils. Cook with olive oil, butter, or coconut oil instead. Replace artificial sweeteners with raw honey or nothing at all. Reduce alcohol to no more than 2 servings per week, and choose organic, grass-fed meats wherever possible. This alone produces measurable changes in microbial composition within 14 days, according to research published in Cell Host and Microbe. Your gut is extraordinarily responsive when you stop poisoning it. Phase 2 begins in week 2, strategic seeding. This is where you actively reintroduce the beneficial bacterial strains your microbiome has lost. The most powerful way to do this is through fermented foods, not supplements, fermented foods. Here's why. Probiotic supplements typically contain 2 to 10 bacterial strains in quantities of a few billion colony-forming units. A single serving of traditionally made sauerkraut can contain over 100 billion CFUs of diverse lactobacillus species, along with enzymes, organic acids, and cofactors that help them survive and colonize your gut. Add 1 to 2 servings of fermented foods daily. The most effective options are live culture sauerkraut, not the pasteurized version in cans, the refrigerated kind in jars, kimchi, kefir made from whole milk, plain full-fat yogurt with live active cultures, and miso. Rotate between these. Variety in your fermented food intake translates directly to diversity in your microbiome. Now, if you're going to use a probiotic supplement in addition to fermented foods, and there are specific circumstances where this accelerates results, look for multi-strain formulas containing Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus rhamnosus, Bifidobacterium longum, and Bifidobacterium bifidum. These are the strains with the strongest evidence base for immune modulation, testosterone support, and cognitive protection in men over 50. Phase 3, beginning in week 3, is what separates good results from exceptional results. This is the feeding phase, and most men skip this entirely. Probiotics, whether from food or supplements, are only as effective as what you feed them. Beneficial bacteria eat prebiotic fiber, specific types of fiber that resist digestion in your small intestine and reach your colon intact, where your bacteria ferment them into those critical short-chain fatty acids we discussed. The most powerful prebiotic foods for men over 50 are garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, Jerusalem artichokes, green bananas, and cooked and cooled potatoes, because cooling cooked starch converts it to resistant starch, a particularly potent prebiotic. Here is the specific protocol I recommend for Phase 3. Every morning, add 1 tablespoon of raw garlic, minced or crushed, to your first savory meal of the day. Garlic contains inulin and fructooligosaccharides, 2 of the most well-researched prebiotics in existence. Studies show that daily garlic consumption increases bifidobacterium populations by up to 40% within 4 weeks. Every afternoon, incorporate a serving of cooked and cooled resistant starch, a potato salad made the night before, or lentils chilled after cooking. And every day, aim for at least 25 to 30 grams of total dietary fiber from whole food sources. This 3-phase approach, removing interference, seeding beneficial bacteria, and feeding them strategically, produces results that compound over time. Within 30 days, most men report noticeably better energy, clearer thinking, improved mood, and better digestion. Within 60 days, inflammatory markers like CRP and IL-6 begin to normalize, and with them, joint pain decreases, sleep deepens, and metabolic function improves. By 90 days, the microbiome diversity that characterizes biologically younger men starts to be measurable. This isn't aging in reverse. This is removing the obstacle that was accelerating your aging in the first place. Now let me give you 2 accelerators that take your results significantly further, faster. The first is polyphenols. Polyphenols are plant compounds found in deeply colored fruits, vegetables, and teas. They do something remarkable in your gut. They act as selective prebiotics, feeding specifically the beneficial bacterial strains while simultaneously suppressing pathogenic ones. The most powerful polyphenol sources for microbiome optimization are blueberries, dark cherries, pomegranate seeds, green tea, dark chocolate above 85% cacao, and extra virgin olive oil. Adding 2 to 3 of these daily produces a measurable shift in microbiome composition within 3 to 4 weeks. A study from King's College London showed that men who consumed the equivalent of 1 cup of blueberries daily for 4 weeks showed a 35% increase in gut microbiome diversity. That's not a supplement, that's a bowl of fruit. The second accelerator is strategic sleep positioning. This might be the most underestimated factor in microbiome optimization. Your gut undergoes its most intensive repair and microbial rebalancing during deep sleep, specifically during the hours between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Research from the American Gut Project found that individuals who consistently slept fewer than 7 hours showed significantly lower microbiome diversity compared to those who slept 7 to 9 hours. The mechanism is your circadian rhythm's direct regulation of intestinal permeability and immune surveillance. When your sleep is disrupted, your gut wall weakens, inflammation increases, and dysbiosis accelerates. To maximize the microbiome benefits of sleep, stop eating at least 3 hours before bed. Keep your bedroom below 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and if you're going to eat fermented foods, have them at dinner rather than breakfast. Your gut's peak fermentation activity occurs during the early overnight hours, meaning the bacteria you introduce at dinner have the most favorable environment for colonization. Let me give you realistic timelines, because I want you to understand exactly what to expect and when. In the first 48 to 72 hours of implementing this protocol, your digestion will shift. You may notice some temporary bloating as your bacterial populations adjust. That's normal, and it passes within a week. What you will also notice almost immediately is improved regularity and reduced post-meal fatigue. By week 1, sleep quality begins to improve. The serotonin upregulation from rebuilding your gut microbiome has a direct effect on melatonin production and sleep architecture. Men report falling asleep more easily and waking feeling more rested. By week 2 to 3, energy levels begin to climb noticeably. The chronic low-grade inflammation that has been silently draining your cellular energy is beginning to retreat. Mitochondrial function improves when inflammatory cytokines decrease. Your cells are more efficient. You notice it as a cleaner, more sustained energy throughout the day, not the spiking and crashing you've become accustomed to. By weeks 4 through 6, cognitive clarity returns. Men describe it as a lifting of mental fog they didn't fully realize was there. Focus sharpens, word retrieval improves, motivation increases. This is the BDNF elevation from increased butyrate production reaching your neurons. And by 60 to 90 days, the systemic effects are measurable. Blood work shows reduced inflammatory markers. Metabolic health improves. Insulin sensitivity increases. Waist circumference decreases. For men who have been struggling with testosterone-related symptoms, many report improvements in libido, energy, and mood consistent with rising functional testosterone levels. This is the science of biological rejuvenation through your gut. It is not a quick fix. It is a systematic restoration of the internal ecosystem your body depends on for every function you value. Before we close, let me address the safety considerations. Because some men will need to adjust this protocol based on their health status. If you are immunocompromised, introducing fermented foods and high-dose probiotics should be done gradually and ideally under medical supervision. Start with small amounts, a tablespoon of sauerkraut rather than a full serving, and increase slowly over 2 to 3 weeks. If you have irritable bowel syndrome or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, high FODMAP prebiotic foods like garlic and onions can temporarily worsen symptoms. In this case, work with a functional medicine physician to address the SIBO first before aggressively increasing prebiotic fiber intake. If you are on immunosuppressant medications, particularly those prescribed after organ transplant, do not introduce high-potency probiotics without consulting your specialist first. For the vast majority of men over 50 watching this protocol is safe, evidence-based, and profoundly effective. The components I've described, fermented foods, prebiotic fiber, polyphenols, sleep optimization, are not experimental interventions. They are dietary fundamentals that human populations who age with remarkable vitality have relied on for centuries. What's new is that we now understand the mechanism. We understand why these things work at the molecular and microbial level. And that understanding allows us to be precise, intentional, and strategic about applying them. Here's what I want you to do right now. Drop a comment below with the words, Day 1. That's it. Just Day 1. That simple act of public commitment, even anonymously, increases follow-through by 60% according to behavioral research. And if you have questions about your specific situation, your current health conditions, or how to adapt this protocol to your circumstances, drop them in the comments. I read every single one, and I respond to as many as I can. If this video gave you information your doctor hasn't shared with you, hit the like button right now. It tells me this is the content you need more of, and it helps other men who need this information find it. Subscribe and turn on notifications because next week I'm releasing a video on the 3 specific foods that accelerate gut aging in men over 50, and I guarantee at least one of them is something you eat regularly, possibly daily, thinking it's healthy. You don't want to be following this protocol and undermining it at breakfast without knowing it. This is Dr. Steven. Your gut is not your enemy. It is your most powerful ally, and it is ready to work for you the moment you give it what it needs. I'll see you in the next one.